Good morning. God is good. And all the time? He surely is. That's why we are here. He is good. And I'm glad our head elder made that connection between worship and health. It's not separate things. We are here because it's God's desire and wish that we prosper and be in health, spiritually, physically, and mentally. So we trust that as we go into our seminar today, we would be tremendously blessed and as a result be able to worship God as He would have us to do. I would do this again at the end, but it's foremost in my mind, so I would do it here firstly, and then at the end I just wanted to register our sincere thanks to those who prepared breakfast for us, that Pam and Vernice and Julie and the other helpers. It was delicious, it was appetizing, and we just wanted to say thanks very much to them. Then I wanted to say a special thanks to the deacons who were here very early this morning, Brother Mason and Brother McClin. I arrived here before 8 a.m., and the gates were open, and everything was ready to go. So congratulations to the deacons who beat me to it this morning. They were very much on time. And of course, thanks to our brilliant nurses for taking your blood pressure. And if you didn't have the opportunity to before the program started, then I've asked them to be available at the end of the program. And I think you would be even more interested after this seminar of making sure that you take your blood pressure and make sure what the reading is. Okay. Don't be a victim of the number one killer in the world. My first point is this. You need to watch the source of your health information. Watch the source of your health information. There is something else I wanted to say. I looked at my right and then somebody I saw there reminded me of what I wanted to say. In addition, there are doctors and nurses in the audience today, and sometimes they say to me after the program, hey, Pastor, you should have added this point, or you should have said this, or I slightly disagree with this point you made. Do not wait until after the program to tell me that. If there is something you think I'm missing, raise your hand and raise it so we can all benefit by it. Even if it's a point that I am making that you kind of slightly disagree, still I am free to let you raise that point so we could look at it and have. Is that understood? Okay, so don't think this is a seminar, I'm not preaching. Don't think you are disturbing to raise your hand and say, hey, Pastor, that point, I just want to check it a little, or I think you should add this. Okay, I'm not a medically trained person. All I'm doing today is sharing top information from very good research, and I'll tell you some more about that in a while. So please, doctors, nurses, please share in this program. Watch the source of your health information. Many claim that their health information is based on research, but the research they are referencing is not worth the name. For example, a research involving 50 or 100 people, as far as I'm concerned, is no research at all. That's too few. A research over a period of a few months, or in many cases even over a year, proves nothing. A lot of stuff out there, out in the media, is masquerading as science. You see people all the time, some of them could be medical doctors. They are saying, don't eat this kind of vegetable, it's not good for you, or don't do this, or don't do this, and a lot of it is their own opinion. It's not based on proper research. Today, the information I share with you comes from a master research. Let me give you some details of that research. A, the research that I'm basing this presentation on was the most comprehensive and systematic analysis of the causes of death ever undertaken. It's one of the biggest research that has ever been undertaken. B, it was published in The Lancet, one of the world's leading medical journals. One of the world's leading. And my research says that the only medical journal that stands slightly above The Lancet is the New England Journal of Medicine. So these are very ethical and credible sources of health information. So I'm making that point over and over again. Watch the source of your health information. C, this research was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, it's not only important to watch the source of your information and watch the research, but you need to also be careful and watch and try to find out as far as possible who funded the research. So, for example, if you see some health information says, hey, research, there's a new research that says, hey, sugar is not all that bad. Let's say you see that. Hey, and then when you look, you see it's funded by who? The sugar company. Immediately, you say, there's something wrong here. I can't take this. Okay, so this research was funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. D, this research involved nearly 500 researchers from more than 300 institutions in 50 countries. You get an idea of the scope of the research? And E, this research examined nearly 100,000 data sources. They examined nearly 100,000 data sources. So I'm saying that this is the information we are sharing today is well-resourced. The results of this massive and impressive study allow us to answer questions like, how many lives could we save if people around the world cut back on soda? Something as simple as that, soda, which many of us drink every day. This research discovered that worldwide we could save 299,000 lives each year if people simply cut back on soda. See how simple? So, they have discovered also that soft drinks and their empty calories don't just fail to promote health, they actually seem to promote death. So that little can of soda is not innocent. Let me see the hands of those who drink a soda almost every day. One young hand went up and he pulled it back down when he watched around and saw nobody else putting up their hand. But he was honest. Yeah. Do you think I drink soda? Huh? Oh, yes, I drink soda. I drink about 4 a year. Mostly like when I'm traveling on a flight, traveling on a plane or something, and they don't have other proper drinks. Or when they have tomato juice, I drink that. But a soda about 3 or 4 times a year. But I stay away from that drink because they are saying soft drinks don't just fail to promote health, they actually seem to promote death. And you see people, even for breakfast, running to school or to work, drinking a soda every day. That's important. B, I'm just sharing some extra stuff that this research has discovered. Soda isn't nearly as deadly. We are saying soda promotes death, eh? But soda isn't nearly as deadly as processed meats. Processed meats. They say soda is not nearly as deadly. And by processed meats, we are talking about bacon and ham. Raise your hand if you eat bacon and ham. I'll discuss you on the church board. All right. Now, question: How do you pronounce this word? B-O-L-O-G-N-A. You are crazy. How B-O-L-O-G-N-A could be bologna? Tell me. But that's how the Americans pronounce it. Yes. All right. Bologna or bologna. Ham and hot dogs. These are some of the examples of processed meats. Processed meat is blamed for the deaths of more than 800,000 people every year. Processed meat. 800,000 every year. That's 4 times more than those who die from illicit drugs. Could you imagine? And they make a big fuss about drugs and the people who are dying, and processed meat kills a lot more than 4 times those who die from illicit drugs. That's amazing. Okay, some other facts brought out by this master research. Which foods, if added to the diet, might save lives? So we saw things that we should stay away from if we want to live healthy and live long. Now, which foods could actually save lives? Eating more whole grains could potentially save 1.7 million lives a year. We're talking about worldwide. I need to say we are talking about worldwide in this seminar because Americans usually think that the world is America. Yeah, sometimes we hear and the world, but we are talking about worldwide. All right. So when I say 1.7 million lives a year, I'm talking worldwide. Eating more whole grains could potentially save 1.7 million lives. And I like to be very practical. When we say eating more whole grains, give me some example of whole grains. You're too quiet. Oats is one. Right? Barley, buckwheat, brown rice. Mm-hmm. Is corn a whole wheat? Whole grain, sorry? Yes. Yes, corn is included here. And sorghum. Anybody know sorghum? You could check it out. Okay. All right. So, eating whole grains could potentially save 1.7 million lives a year. More vegetables could save 1.8 million lives. More veggies, 1.7 million. Could you imagine people dying 1.8 million a year just because they are not eating enough vegetables? Nuts and seeds could save 2.5 million lives. Nuts and seeds. When we say we know the nuts, Peanuts, by the way, is down at the bottom of the pack. What are the better nuts? Walnuts? I'm hearing just a murmur. I'm not. What nuts? Hazelnuts, yes. Almonds, Brazil nuts. Right, these are the better nuts. Unsalted. Thank you, Brother Garcia. Unsalted. I'm not repeating that. I am not repeating that because I like roasted. Okay, if you're roasting the nuts, roasted nuts is not cited as something that is against good health. Have you ever seen that? I've never. But we know that if you, and that's for any preparation. You don't overcook stuff, don't overcook stuff, don't overbake stuff, don't over roast stuff. So if you roasting the nuts, lightly roasted is better than, you know, right, good. So that's the nuts. What about the seeds? We say nuts and seeds could save 2.5 million lives. Seeds. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. What? Some folks not having it. They said no. All I could say, I don't have the facts on watermelon seeds. I'm not saying your name, but I don't. Down in the back. Thank you. While we would here and there raise issues like that, yes, we have to generalize because we can't go in a presentation like that into specific problems or allergies of individuals, yes? So we have to say what is general. Okay, so nuts and seeds could save how many lives? 2.5. If humanity eat more fruits, 4.9 million lives could be saved. More fruits. As simple as that. Now, the thing with health principles is this, that a lot of times we don't hear anything that is very, very new or that we have never heard before. But the fact is we need to rehearse these things because are we doing it? I would think everybody here know the importance of fruits. But how many fruits do you use on a daily basis? That's the important thing. How many fruits do you eat on a daily basis? Okay, so this research shows that 4.9 million lives could be saved each year if people would simply eat more fruit. So these are the important things. If we stop this seminar right now and you go home and really begin to practice what we have just covered, your health will improve. We're talking about what? Nuts and seeds, more of that. More vegetables, more whole wheat, and more fruits. If you would focus on those. All right. Now, having said all that, answer the question about the number one killer in the world. Anybody has an idea? What do you think is because that's what we're focusing on today. What do you think is the number one killer worldwide? It kills 9 million people every year. What that? Poor diet. Well, I guess that's involved in it all. Huh? Hypertension. Sing. You say hypertension. Now, as I turn to move on, you say diabetes. Which is it? The number one risk factor for death in the world, they identified, is high blood pressure or hypertension. That's so simple. But let's go into it. High blood pressure lays waste to 9 million people worldwide every year. 9 million people. And should I say this? A lot of people are right now in their graves because all they had was a little high blood pressure. Yeah, that's how people, yeah, I'm okay, just a little high blood pressure. A lot of people are in their graves because of that little high blood pressure. Right. It kills so many people because it contributes to death from a variety of causes. What makes it more potent killer than cancer and other diseases? It's because it contributes to death from a variety of causes. Aneurysms, heart attacks, heart failure, kidney failure, and stroke. The background of all these that we just listed is high blood pressure or hypertension. Your blood pressure is made up of two numbers. The first number is called what? Systolic. It represents the pressure in your arteries as blood pumps from the heart. So it's good to, we know, all of us know about, oh yes, the systolic and diastolic. The systolic represents the pressure in your arteries as blood pumps from the heart. The second number, the diastolic, is the pressure in your arteries while the heart is resting between beats. Am I doing all right, medical folks? Thank you. The American Heart Association defines normal blood pressure as a systolic pressure under 120, that's the top figure, and the diastolic or the bottom figure under what? 80. All right. So that's normal. If you under 120 over 80, you're normal. That's how they define American Heart Association. Anything above 140 over 90 is considered hypertensive, and values in between are considered pre-hypertensive. Okay, so that's why we wanted you to take your high blood pressure. Is there anybody who want to admit that your blood pressure was above 140 over 90? Yours was one, okay. Anybody else? 2, 3. All right. Okay. Anything in between is considered pre-hypertensive. Anybody was in that area of pre-hypertensive? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can't be comfortable with pre-hypertensive and say, well, I'm in between, I'm okay. It means, hey, you are moving toward hypertension, so your body, just be careful and start to practice and look at some of the things we'll discuss today. Increased blood pressure puts a strain on the heart and can damage the sensitive blood vessels in your eyes and kidneys, cause bleeding in the brain, and even lead certain arteries to balloon and rupture. So that's why we don't take it lightly. It can cause all these different problems. The fact that hypertension can damage so many organ systems and increase the risk of heart disease and stroke, two of our leading killers, explains why it is the number one killer risk in the world. Are we all together? We've seen how serious this is. It's not just a little hypertension. It damages so many other organs of the body. In the United States, nearly 78 million people have high blood pressure. You see how common it is? That's why we are dealing with it today. That's why it's important that we look at this thing and understand it inside out. 78 million people have high blood pressure in the United States. After age 60, who could lift your hand and say over 60? Who is that? Over age 60. Sister Johnson, over age 60, I say. Huh? You understand now? Are you over age 60? Oh, yes. Yeah, but raise your hand. Okay, did you see, did my head elder raise her hand? Oh, she's not there yet. All right. Okay, good. She's fussing with me now. All right. After age 60, 65% of Americans can expect to be diagnosed with high blood pressure. After age 60, 65%. So some people say, oh, well, it's just you must expect a little high blood pressure because as you grow old, we'll see if that is so. It is not inevitable consequence of getting older. Did you hear me? It is not because you are getting older. It is a must, or it's natural for you to be suffering with high blood pressure. Okay, now, the ideal blood pressure, we know what the American Heart Association say is normal, right? But normal doesn't mean best. You know what normal means? Normal for medical science is just what most people, the average where most people are. And sometimes that is not the best. It's normal doesn't mean it's the best. Okay. So the ideal blood pressure, or the goal we should be striving for, is 110/70. Now, let me see those who were 110/70 or below that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Well, a number of you, which is good. 110/70. Where do you think I ended up? 150. Keep in mind that I was rushing around making sure the breakfast is all right and keep. Of course, I didn't come in calm and said, okay, right. This morning, I registered 118/71. I only hear one person say, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. 118/71. You know, they're talking about 140/80. Anytime I'm seen approaching my bottom figure approaching 80, I'm saying, hey, what's happening here? By the way, I take my blood pressure at least once a week, and I'll show you why. Some people say, hey, why? I'll show you why. It's important. Okay, so the research showed that, the research showed, some of you are not going to like this point. The research showed that high blood pressure appears to be a choice. You could quarrel how much you want. I am just showing you research, proper research. I'm saying they discovered in the research, this wide-ranging, solid research, that high blood pressure appears to be a choice. I know what you are thinking. Hey, high blood pressure runs in my family. In other words, what you're trying to say, high blood pressure runs in my family, so as I get older, I must suffer from high blood pressure. No, no, no. How do we say it? What loads the gun? Faulty genetics load the gun. What pulls the trigger? Lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if it runs in your family, you may have a genetical predisposition, but your lifestyle will pull the trigger. That's why they say high blood pressure appears to be a choice, and we will see why. You can continue eating the artery-bursting Western diet, or you can choose to take off the pressure. That's why they say it's a choice. Do you know that there are some people who actually love food so much that they would rather die than change their eating habits? There are certain foods they feel they can't do without, or I can't eat this way, or I can't, and the doctors say you will die, and they go out and they continue doing it. And don't point your finger too much at them, because we may see some habits that we have that is heading us to an early grave. So once again, you can continue eating the artery-bursting Western diet, or you can choose to take the pressure off. The truth is, eliminating humanity's primary risk factor for death may be simple. No drugs, no scalpels, just your forks. That knife and fork. That's it. That's how simple it is. The two most prominent dietary risks for death and disability in the world may be, number one, that's the most prominent dietary risk for death. Number one, not eating enough fruit. We remember that. And secondly, eating too much not eating enough fruits and eating too much salt. You thought it was sweet. Eating too much salt. We said already, not eating enough fruit kills about nearly 5 million every year, and eating too much salt kills about 4 million every year. Just that. Could you imagine 4 million people die every year simply because they eat too much salt? How wasteful a death is that? Yes, question. Okay, could we have a microphone, because it might be very good to hear what people are saying.
Yeah, for the past 4 or 5 weeks, my doctor has been calling me to add salt to my diet. I never cook with salt. And he said my salt is so low, I have to eat salt. If I don't bring it up, well, I just did blood test yesterday. And he said if it's not up, he'll have to give me salt pill. It's the first doctor ever tell me that.
Okay. I want one of our medical personnel to speak to that. Anybody? Okay, up front here. Microphone over here, please.
So that's totally different. You have low sodium, which we call hyponatremia. So that's different.
Okay.
Totally different. You need salt, yes. There's a nice balance of sodium that you need in your body. So you have to be mindful. That's totally different. So listen to your doctor. Take your salt. This is different, okay? So that's different because that's... So let's do this. Let's do this. After Pastor is finished, you can come and grab me. And we can talk some more about that, all right? But that's different. That's different.
Okay. That's a very specific situation for you. Yes? Okay, good. Thank you very much. So, not eating enough fruit and eating too much salt. Right. Okay. One of these, and I like to share, one of these I am fine with, the other one I have to watch. We eat fruits as if it's going out of style. 5, 6, 7 different fruits each day. We make sure we eat that. And by the way, it costs some money to do that. So that's why some people cut back on that because, oh, right, these fruits finishing. Every minute you have to go and buy fruits. And the better fruits are they're expensive because the best fruits are what kind? No, I'm not talking about organic. No, I'm talking about what actual fruits. What are the best fruits? Berries. Berries are the most nutritious. Okay. Hear me? I'm saying berries are the best fruit. So blueberries and strawberries and raspberries and what else? All the berries. All the berries. Eat lots of those. They are cheap, right? They are not. Okay? So you see why one of the reasons people may not be eating enough. The berries are the best fruits. And then you go on the others. So I am good with that. I know we eat a lot of fruits. But my wife is always talking to me about the salt. I like salty stuff. I like salty food. And so I have to be watching that carefully. I may be a little, my body might be a little more tolerant than most because I exercise so vigorously that I sweat a lot. I go up the mountain. A lot of folks say it's too hot. We go up that mountain every morning, no matter whether it's summer or winter or what season. So, I mean, like now, I mean, you come down the mountain and it's like if you went in the shower. You are so soaked. But I'm saying that's still no excuse. So salt, eating too much salt. We'll talk a little more about that. If you consume too much salt, now what I've found in my own situation, maybe true for many others, when you hear a fact, then it may, you know it's a fact, but you move on and you forget it. If you understand why that is having an effect on your body, it stays with me more. So if you consume too much salt, it can cause water retention. And your body may respond by raising your blood pressure to push the excess fluid and salt out of your system. So that's how come you eat too much salt. One of the reasons you eat too much salt, you end up with high blood pressure. Yes? It causes water retention and your body in trying to handle that situation. Humans are genetically programmed to eat, listen to this, humans are genetically programmed to eat 10 times less sodium than we do now. So you may be saying, well, I don't eat too much salt. We'll see where you get your salt from, by the way. But we are genetically programmed to eat 10 times less salt. So don't say, I don't eat too much salt. You do, the average person, because even if you're not 10 times more, you're quite a bit more than you should be eating. Okay? And there's a reason why some folk may be saying, oh, I don't eat a lot of salt, because you are thinking just in specific areas. Sir, I'm sorry, you did have your hand up. Yes. Do you remember what it was now?
I didn't forget. As you were saying, I heard this excuse many times. Vegetarian diet's too expensive. It's like, what's more expensive? Eating a proper diet or paying a medical bill? In my experience, a medical bill's a whole lot much more than eating healthy. And there's this saying, you can't put a price tag on your health. There's this saying, you get what you pay for. If you want to pay for garbage, you're going to get garbage. If you want to pay for something good, you're going to have to pay a little more. But forgive me if I make huge tidal waves here. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I've been around Seventh-day Adventists, and I can't say how your fellowship services are here. I've never been to one, but I've been to fellowship services, and we call them vegetarian junkies, if you know what I mean.
Should I pursue this? What do you mean by vegetarian junkies?
Well, some have healthy foods, and some it's like sweets, sugars, and chips, and sodas, and cakes, and donuts.
But they're vegetarian. Yeah, I thank you. You could be a vegetarian and still eating very unhealthy. Some folks say, just vegetarian. You understand?
And we have the health message.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, if we could cut out salt intake by about half a teaspoon a day, which is achievable, by avoiding salty foods, give me some normal, everyday kind of salty foods that we just eat. Chips. Wow, right up to the top there. And those chips taste good. Food, but they're extremely salty. Anything else? All right, that's chips. Chips are those are the obvious foods. What I want to show you is the not so obvious, and you taking in a lot of salt. Okay, so if we could cut out salt intake by about half a teaspoon a day, which is achievable by avoiding salty foods and not adding salt to our food. Who likes to add salt to the food on the table? Wow, quite a lot of you. I just think it was just me. I have to do away with that altogether. Right. Some people, they haven't even tasted the food yet, and they haven't tasted the food yet, and they're adding salt. Not adding salt to our food, we might prevent 22% of stroke deaths, and 16% of fatal heart attacks. Do you hear this? You know what happens when you get a stroke? Especially a massive stroke? Your normal life is over. You might be in a wheelchair and your life, and just by, you could prevent a lot of that by just cutting down on salt. And you continue to do that and hoping for the best, and then bam, you hit with a stroke. Well, let me go back to, all right, I'll touch on that later. Yes. Okay. Okay, right. Yeah. So you know what you're telling me. I wouldn't deal with your specific case, but just something. That last thing you mentioned is you say you were sitting down, not doing anything. So a lot of people feel is only when you're all stressed out and rushing around that a stroke happens. But it could happen when you're just lying in your bed. Yes. So. Okay, thanks for sharing that. Okay, where am I? Right. Up to 92,000 American lives could be saved each year simply by eating less salt. When you do this study and you see the wasted lives, thousands, by simple health habits that we could practice, 92,000 lives in America could be saved, not every 5 years, each year, 92,000 people die simply because they're eating too much salt. The evidence that sodium raises blood pressure is clear. Even just a single meal can do it. Now that made me pay attention. Because even if we eating healthily, a single meal, they have done the experiments and the research where they see that how a single meal could affect your blood pressure. They see the effect almost immediately. If you reduce your salt intake, you reduce your blood pressure. And the greater the reduction, the greater the benefit. Got that? The greater you reduce. So if you are pre-hypertensive, hey, immediately this is watch your salt intake. Not just watch it, begin to cut down. In the back. Yes.
So it's important to know that the source of sodium is not only salt, but there are other sources of sodium in our foods.
Okay, thank you. I hope as we go along we could cover that, but that's an important point to keep in mind. Yes, you may just be thinking of salt and the salty tasting food, but it's more subtle than that. Thank you so much. In addition to high blood pressure, salty meals can significantly impair artery function, and the harm begins within 30 minutes. within 30 minutes after you eat I nearly say healthy, a salty meal, they could see the effects on your arteries. It impairs artery function. After one salty meal, not only does blood pressure increase, but the arteries begin to stiffen. One salty meal. And they see the increase in blood pressure, and the arteries begin to stiffen. The salt industry, listen to this, the salt industry has its own PR and lobbying firms to play tobacco industry-like tactics to downplay the dangers of its product. So while we are thinking health and thinking of the, lowering our salt intake, there are people who are spending millions of making sure you keep eating salt. It doesn't just happen. They're on a program of making sure your taste bud get accustomed to salty food so that you will eat salty food, because that is putting millions in their pockets. That is what we are fighting against. Yes? But the real villains is the processed food industry. Processed foods. 3/4 of salt comes from processed food rather than the salt shaker. Hello? Because you may be thinking of where you add salt, but 3/4 of salt comes from processed food rather than the salt shaker. Give me some example of processed food. Anything in a package or a can. Anything, what's that? I didn't hear that. Grillers? Processed food, anything in a can or a package. And when you look into your pantry, when you look into a pantry, how many tins of stuff are there? How many? Pantry is full of cans of stuff, because cans of peas and beans and so on that are supposed to be wholesome food. But processed food give us 3/4 of our salt intake. Yes? Okay. Keep that in mind. By hooking you on hyper sweet and hyper salty foods, that's what the companies do. They go on a program. It doesn't happen by chance. They work on hooking you on hyper sweet and hyper salty foods. By doing that, your taste buds get so dampened that natural foods can taste like cardboard. That's what they do. So you lessen the salt and you go back on the salty food because the food tasting, well, this, I can't eat this, yes, because you don't realize that they have hooked you on those high salt and high sweet foods, so that you now have to go on a program of retraining your taste buds. And that takes time. Oh yes, the food would taste very bland, but just give yourself time and your taste buds would get back its natural, where it's supposed to be. Yes.
You look on your labels of your foods, you always look at the labels of your food, at least I do. And they say like sea salt in your food, and then they said salt. Now, why is always sea salt? And they describe salt is the best, and when they say just salt.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You know, I said the companies work on stuff. If they know people are very concerned and getting health conscious about salt in the food, they say, oh, this is sea salt. Yeah, right. So it's not salt. They say sea salt. And people think, I'm using sea salt, so it's not as bad as the natural salt. Anybody could give a fact on that? As far as I'm concerned, whether it's sea salt or land salt, it's salt. Yes? But they have a way of labeling things for you to think that it's better or it's okay. And so you don't practice what you know. So sea salt is not any better than normal salt, as far as I'm concerned, and the impact on your health. Sea salt is less processed, right? So then it's not going to cause the problems we are talking about, right? So forget about the sea salt or table salt or refined salt. Salt, we are saying, is a problem because we are using 10 times more than we should be using salt. Keep that in mind. Whether it's sea salt or refined salt, you're using 10 times as much as your body, and it's causing a problem because almost the average person is suffering from some level of hypertension. And this is the reason, because we have been duped into and hooked onto hyper salty foods.
When you go to the stores, sea salt is a higher price and than the average just salt. They label sea salt higher.
Okay.
Yes.
So you see where they get you? They get you to think this is better, and they charge more. So you're paying more, and you're getting the same disease. You're paying more for your disease. Yeah? That's what the food industry is doing. Okay. Two other reasons the food industry adds salt to foods. This was an eye-opener for me. Why they add salt to food? If you add salt to meat, the meat draws in water. By this way, a company can increase the weight of its product by 20%. 20% profit for little added cost. So they add a lot of salt to the meat draw in water, become heavier, so they give you less. That's why they add salt to meat. The second reason they add salt to meat is this, or add salt to food. Eating salt makes us thirsty. There's a reason why bars put out free baskets of salted nuts and pretzels. You feel like, oh, they're so nice, they're giving us free nuts, salted nuts and pretzels. They have a strategy. They give you salty nuts because you get thirsty. And soda conglomerates, this is one of the reasons why soda conglomerates own snack food companies. Because they know, they have worked this thing out. A cold drink and a salty snack go hand in hand. So they give you the salty nuts, and you nibble at it. And the next thing you know, you're ordering a drink. The poultry industry commonly injects chicken carcasses with salt water. Why do they call it a carcass? When they say a chicken carcass, it makes my mind turn away from eating it in the first place. You just say chicken. They say a chicken carcass. Would you eat the carcass of a dead animal? Oh, my word. The poultry industry commonly injects chicken carcasses with salt water to artificially inflate their weight. Yet they can still be labeled 100% natural. They get around, they know the laws better than the lawmakers. So they know exactly. They could label it natural, 100% natural, yet they have artificially inflated the weight by injecting salt water into it. Okay, so we talk about lessening on our salt intake and not adding salt to our food at the table, etc. But tell me, if you can, what is the number one source of sodium for American kids and teens? Anybody? Make a guess. Salt. Not sugar. Soda is sugar. That's it. Who said that? Pizza. That was an eye-opener for me. The number one source of sodium for American kids and teens, it's pizza. For adults over 50, this one is even more surprising. What's the main source of salt for adults over 50? Where did you come from?
Hold on now. It is. Never since sodium is a lead.
Okay. I'm not doubting you that we could pick up a lot of sodium from meditation. I am not doubting. I can't answer that yes or no. But I'm just going by what the research says. The main, it's just amazing. You don't think of this food as a salt food. Bread. Somebody said it. Bread. The number one source of sodium for American adults over 50 is bread. Bread has turned out not to be a good food. I mean, processed bread. I'm not talking about bread that you make. I'm talking about bread that you buy. And it's so easy to go and buy bread instead of baking your own. Did you notice we had homemade bread at our breakfast this morning? Do you notice that? Wow. The breakfast people really thought about you. They could just have gone and buy some bread. You had homemade bread. This is Beacon Light you're talking about. You know, not just any old place. Okay, good. So bread. Over the past, and maybe time moves fast, maybe nearly 3 years, I've almost cut out eating bread altogether. I mean, every morning I used to have slice of whole wheat bread, 2 slices with my breakfast, with my fruits and so on. But I realized that bread, especially if you are fighting weight problems, bread is one of the things to leave off your diet completely. Yeah, bread, simple as that. Okay, so it's a source of a lot of salt. Okay, so we had, for kids it's pizza, for adults over 50 it's bread. Between the ages of 20 to 50, the greatest contributor of sodium in the diet is what? Not chips, not soda, not fries. You see how obvious some of those things are, and it's not that. Chicken. Between the ages, you see, things are different from what we would think generally, yes? And that's why research is good. Between the ages of 20 to 50, the greatest contributor of sodium in the diet is chicken. And don't think you are vegetarian, so you don't use chicken, so you're using the veggie stuff. A lot of those veggie stuff is packed with salt. Packed with salt. You're tasting the salt in it. If you taste it, if it tastes, and you say, and I say, oh, this is tasting good, it has too much salt. You know that. Too much salt. So you might switch from eating chicken and eating veggie burgers and veggie this and think you're eating a wholesome diet. And then, mom, you go down with something and you wonder, hey, what's this? Where are all those people going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're going for breakfast. They're heading over to the... I hope nobody's serving any food over there, because 5, 6, 7 people in a group heading over to the hall. Well, I hope so. Okay, good. 4 things to do to shake the salt habit. Number 1, obvious. Don't add salt at the table. Just be disciplined with yourself. Don't add salt at the table. Move away the salt shaker altogether. Number 2, stop adding salt when cooking. And I wondered about this point. You must add a little salt when you're cooking, no? But they didn't say cut down, they say stop adding salt when cooking. Use instead pepper, onions, garlic, tomatoes, sweet peppers, basil, thyme, celery, lime, chili powder, rosemary, curry, coriander, and lemon. They say stop adding salt and add these things instead. That's one way if you really want to cut down. Number 3. Number 3. Avoid eating out as much as possible. Avoid. You could want to be healthy all you want, but if you eat out on a regular basis, honestly, you don't know what you're eating. Oil and a lot of salt and all kind of things. So avoid eating out as much as possible. I'm glad that we don't eat out very regularly. We don't even eat out like once a month. So, once a month is what? Is what? Oh, once a month for you is date night, you say? Okay. Well, careful where you take her to eat. Because you don't want to be taking her once a month on date night and killing her at the same time. But do you understand this? Eating out. There are some people, oh, it's so convenient, and they eat out regularly and so on. But if you really want to cut down, because salt, remember, they are cultivating a taste. And number 4, do what you can to avoid processed foods. This one is even more difficult, because processed foods, the average American, the average individual now, we process foods. Please, you take down a tin of this, a tin of that, and in a short time you have a meal and so on. But we have to, especially if you're borderline, hypertensive and so on, you have to watch all these points and do what you can, because I'll tell you this, you may think these things are, oh, that's hard to do, but it's a lot easier doing these things than living after a stroke. You understand what I'm saying? Some folks find it so difficult to change their eating habits, but they have to change their lives when they get a stroke. And then they, as our brother would say, they wish at that point, oh, I'm willing to do this and that. Oh, I'll change this and I'll change that. Too late. As the old folks say, the horse has already bolted and you're shutting the gate. So think of what can happen. Think of a person who has had a massive stroke. Ask them what they'd be willing to do if they could regain their health. Anything. We wait until something has happened and then we want to change it. We are willing to do anything. Prevention is better than cure. Okay. What's the time? 11:15. I did say I would give the opportunity of our deacons to take our regular tithes and offering at this point, because we don't want you to go back home with your tithes and offering and say, well, they didn't give me an opportunity, so so we'll call on Elder Tamika to handle this for us.
Happy Sabbath. Elders and deaconess, come forward. Amen. I pray all of you are really enjoying this information because it is extremely important. Amen? It's very good. I know some of you seem to be quite health conscious. I can tell by not only your appearance, but maybe some of the things I've observed you eating and doing. So you're examples, and praise God for that. And then there's some of us, I'll speak personally, who could definitely take a lot of this information and apply it. But while I was listening to Pastor, I thought about we always need to go back to the basics, amen? So he's sharing this very valuable information. We also need to go back to the basics as well with our giving, amen? We really just need to obey what God is telling us to do. And everything will come in line if we do that. So I praise God for this today. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all of the monies, Lord, that you're providing for your ministry to go out to the world, Lord. And also for the health ministry, Lord, and the health message that we're learning today, Lord. I ask that we take heed and that we apply this to our lives. We thank you for your love and your kindness, and continue to bless us through the remainder of the service. Amen. Be seated.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions before we move on to the final section? Any questions on anything we have covered so far?
Pastor, I think on the, if you go back to the using the herbs for substitute for the salt.
In cooking.
In cooking, we've just got to be careful that a lot of the herbs that you're using do contain a high
Salt.
amount of salt in there.
That's what I-
So
yeah.
look for the salt-free versions, and also if you can actually get the fresh, you cut the fresh up, you use the fresh onions, garlic, sweet peppers, all of the rest. What happens is it becomes an acquired taste, because what your taste buds will do, you'll train your taste buds back to taste the flavor in the food. Because as it is now, you're just tasting salt first before you taste anything else. So you train your taste buds to taste the flavor that the natural herbs would actually bring out in the food.
Thank you so much for that point. You are right, because, yes, some of the herbs also contain salt, so we have to watch that. Yeah.
Is the fruit good even though it don't taste good? That's what I have a problem with. Fruit does not taste like it used to taste when I was a child.
Okay. The question is a fruit good even though it doesn't taste good? Huh? It doesn't taste the same. We just have to use the best we could get. Is it good? It's better than no fruit. Yeah, all I'm saying is that, okay, the orange or the apple may not taste as when you were young, the rich, lovely taste, but it's better to still eat it than not eating fruit at all. Use the best stuff you could get, and that's the best we can do. We live in an imperfect world.
So, Pastor.
Keep in mind, because some folk get thrown off by this, keep in mind, there is no way that I know of to completely eliminate the chances of you getting some kind of disease, because we live in an imperfect world. All that we are talking about is we do whatever we could do humanly possible to cut down our chances of going on with a particular disease. As one doctor, researcher said, I don't mind dying, but it mustn't be my fault. In other words, you don't want to be on a bed dying from cancer or from a massive brain bleed, and you know in your heart, I could have done something to avoid this. That's a different thing altogether than, hey, Lord, I've done my part, I've done my best, my life is in your hand. So we do whatever we could do. We cannot eliminate completely, because some people say, hey, but that person was so health conscious and so on, and they still got sick with such and such, and they die. Yes, but you don't know if they weren't practicing those health principles, they might have died 10 years before.
So, Pastor, I may not get it all right, but in the Bible talks about salt for money, not for on your food. I could be wrong.
No. Okay, they used to use salt as a form of payment for stuff, yes, but then when I pay you with 5 pounds of salt, what are you doing with the salt?
Paying somebody else to get it out.
Okay, they used to use salt more so to preserve food than to eat it, because they didn't have refrigerators and things like that.
Pastor, this goes into another discussion, but it's not the food that changes, it's our taste buds that change.
Okay, thank you. That's a good perspective, but I am not pursuing along that line at this point, because we know the earth itself is suffering. It doesn't have the elements the fruit and the food is not as rich as it ought to be, but we do our best.
Yeah, with reference to salt intake, is there an accepted level or a prescribed level of salt that we should take daily? Or it's just according to our taste bud?
No, it's not just according to our taste buds. I think I should have it somewhere here, but we haven't covered it. That we should only take in so much salt intake per day. Anybody has that for me? So we could answer this question directly. I know I said we're using 10 times more the salt. Okay, the answer? You don't have the slide with you? Yes. It's there? Okay, please, read it for us.
It says,
Over the mic.
Aim to consume less than 1,500 milligrams of sodium. Even reducing daily intake by 1,000 milligrams can help.
I'll tell you what. You see what you have just read there? It means absolutely nothing to me. Do you no, by that I'm saying 15 milligrams what? That's right. What does 15 milligrams look like? 1,500, sorry. What does it look like? Okay, so go home and research that and put it in a spoon and get an idea of what it looks like.
It's actually 1 teaspoon of salt per day.
Okay, that is more helpful. This milligrams thing, I can't get my head around it. 1 teaspoon? 1 teaspoon of salt. Whoa, that's a tiny bit. One teaspoon, but that's what we should be taking a day. And they're saying we use about 10 times that. So that's where you need to cut down. Thank you very much for that question. So you have an idea of what it looks like. All right, talk to the doctor after. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So no. I can't suggest anything. I'm not a medical personnel, and you have particular issues that you have to work with your doctor on. Yes. So your body and what's happening with your body. Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're talking about whole grains now. And you would think that whole grains, what does whole grain have to do with hypertension and salt intake? Okay. On an average, listen to this. On an average, blood pressure medications reduce the risk of heart attack by 15% and the risk of stroke by 25%. You got that? So if you're on blood pressure medication, as some of you are, you're reducing the risk of heart attack by 15% and the risk of stroke by 25%. But in a randomized controlled trial, 3 portions of whole grains a day were able to help people achieve this blood pressure lowering benefit also. The same blood pressure lowering benefit you get from that blood pressure medication, they were able to duplicate it by having the people eat 3 portions of whole grains a day. Isn't that amazing? Okay, what I just said, I didn't say to anybody here. So, eat 3 portions of whole grains a day and throw away your blood pressure medication. Did you hear me say anything like that? I am just, so don't try to do this on your own. What I am saying, the research found that as they got people eating at least 3 portions of whole grains a day, they were able to duplicate the same blood pressure lowering benefit as the people who were on blood pressure medication. Okay. Now, I'll show you why this will not be promoted out there. I'll show you why in a while. The study revealed that a diet rich in whole grain yields the same benefits without the adverse side effects commonly associated with antihypertensive drugs. Could I say that again? The study revealed that a diet rich in whole grains, and we listed some of the whole grains, it yields the same benefits without the adverse side effects, because antihypertensive drugs have side effects. Example, lethargy, impotence from beta blockers, and increased breast cancer risk. Those are some of the side effects of blood pressure medication. Whole grains do have side effects, good ones. Here are some of the good side effects of whole grains. 1, a lower risk of type 2 diabetes, lower risk of coronary heart disease, lower weight gain, and a lower risk of colon cancer. Those are the wholesome side effects of eating more whole grains. But only whole grains we are talking about, like oats and whole wheat and brown rice, as we said. Refined grains may actually increase your risk. Did you hear that? In fact, a Harvard University researchers found that daily servings of white rice were associated with a 17% greater risk of diabetes. So some of you eat a lot of white rice and you are diabetic, or you may be pre-diabetic. Watch it. A 17% greater risk of diabetes if you eat a daily serving of white rice. So switch to brown rice and get your taste accustomed to brown rice. It takes a little while, but your taste buds would adjust. High blood pressure patients commonly end up on 3 different antihypertensive drugs. Those who know what I'm talking about by experience. My wife sometimes thinks I'm crazy, the kind of thing I ask people to lift their hands for. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know what I said, so that's why no hands went up. High blood pressure. Don't laugh at the pastor. High blood pressure patients commonly end up on 3 different antihypertensive drugs. So they give you one drug for high blood pressure, and it gives you some side effects, so that they give you a second drug to counteract those side effects. And then the second one gives you some other side effects, so you have to have a third drug to counteract the side effects of the second drug they give you. And on it goes. You were saying something? You want to say something? Yet, only half of those patients stick to even the first line of drugs. No surprise, what with the side effects, which is, the side effects is leg cramps, fatigue, and erectile dysfunction. So when they face that side effect, you know that one, they say, I ain't taking these drugs again. At the end of all this, the drugs haven't gotten to the root cause of the problem. When you take hypertensive, antihypertensive drugs to combat your high blood pressure, it's not dealing with the root of the problem, because the cause of high blood pressure isn't medication deficiency. The underlying cause is what you eat and how you live. What you eat and how you live. That's why they say it's a choice. Even the doctors would make you think sometimes, some of the doctors may take you think, oh, it's not a choice, you're getting older and you will get some high blood pressure. They make you think, you and the drug companies make you think, oh, it's almost, they make it think, it's almost natural, kind of natural for you to suffer with high blood pressure as you get older. We are saying today it is not natural and it doesn't have to be. You can choose. The ideal blood pressure, we said, is 110/70, and some of you made that this morning. 110/70. I'm usually just about there. In the Western world, the only group able to routinely achieve this blood pressure reading is vegetarians. In the Western world, the only group able to routinely achieve this blood pressure reading of 110/70. 110/70. Think 110/70. That's where you should be heading to. That's where you should be trying to achieve. Studies have shown that adding meat to a plant-based diet can significantly elevate blood pressure in a matter of days. Adding meat. Okay, so look at this. Those who cut out all meat except for fish had a 38% lower risk of high blood pressure. So if you cut out all meat except fish, 38% lower risk of high blood pressure. Then they went further. Those who cut out all meat had a 55% lower risk of suffering from high blood pressure. And then the third group, those who cut out all meat and dairy products, eggs and dairy, did the best with a 75% reduced risk of high blood pressure. So you know, if you're having problems with high blood pressure, you know where to aim, you know where to go, you know what to begin to cut out. This is solid research. You know what to cut out from your diet if you want to get rid of this high blood pressure, which is like a time bomb. We show it. It's damaging other body organs, so it's important. Don't think, hey, you're just a little over, it's a little high blood pressure, and that's all right. Get it down. Okay, for last few minutes. Foods for additional hypertension protection. Number one, a low-salt diet centered around whole plant foods appears to be the best way to bring down high blood pressure. Low-salt diet, more plant foods. Number two, ground flax seeds alone induce one of the most potent blood pressure lowering effects ever achieved by a dietary intervention. Did you hear that? Ground flax seeds. So this is something you will begin to do immediately. If you are pre-hypertensive or you hypertensive, ground flax seeds. Then your blood pressure will come down lower and lower until your doctor would say, hey, you need to, you don't need these anymore. I don't know if they'll say that, actually. Good doctors, yeah. Consumption of both raw and cooked vegetables is associated with lower blood pressure, but raw veggies may be slightly more protective. Vegetables. A lot of people don't like a lot of vegetables. I understand now why that ancient man, I can't remember who it was, said, let food be your medicine. So when I taste a kind of good food and it doesn't taste good, I say to myself, it's medicine, eat it. It's good medicine. Let food be your medicine. We only eat the thing that tastes good. And a lot of things that taste good really are not good for us. Because the food industry know how to fix up a food that is detrimental to health, but it tastes good. And don't talk about the smell. You could just eat and you pass and you smell that thing, you're hungry. They know how to generate that smell and that taste. They are doing that. So you can't go through life just eating what you like. You know what the good foods are and begin to cultivate a taste for it. So some of the things, I never liked strawberries. I never liked strawberries. It was not a fruit that I would buy and wouldn't have food it. But I have strawberries every day now. 3 or 4 or 5 strawberries, right? And I've kind of cultivated the taste for it because when I learned that berries are the most nutritious fruits, hey, man, especially now like the strawberries season is in, eat a lot of strawberries. I'm not bothering with taste. Whether it tastes good or not, I'm eating it. Let food be your medicine. Okay. And load up on beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. I notice a lot of young children, young people don't like beans and peas and these kind of things. But it's good. Load up on beans and split peas and chickpeas and lentils will also help. You know, and when you have a plate of food before you, rice, let's say rice and beans, don't have a whole pile of rice and then a little beans with it. You should reverse that. Beans should be the food, and you have a little rice with it. Yeah? And I'm still getting accustomed to that after all these years. Right. And I always let my wife serve out my food because my eyes are bigger than my stomach, especially when it's nice food. Like what was delivered to me yesterday evening. Anyhow, all right. So a lot of time, and it happens over and over again. You know, it seems our head is hard. My wife dish out my food, and I don't say anything to her, but I say, she don't know it's a big man. What is a little bit of food she put there? A little bit of food, the food looking a little bit. And every time I eat the food and I'm full, I'm satisfied. It's just amazing. So she knows more than me how much food I should be having. Because if I dish it out, I always put a lot more than that. Yeah? And the thing is, what I put, I eat. So how is that? You know? She always, if you see the serving size of food on my plate, you'll think she's starving the man. She feels he's a child, but it's enough, you know, especially a little bit of rice, just a little handful of rice, and a lot of beans and peas, and then I say, my word, she thinks it's about 5 people here. If you see the dish now with the salad, man, a whole pile. She says, yes, this is mine. That half is yours. Eat. After I eat all that, when I eat all that salad, the little bit of food turn out enough. So that's what we need to do because we eat a lot of white rice and all this kind of so on, and we have a little tiny bit of salad, and we say, yes, I had salad. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, good. All right. Watermelon seems to offer protection, so does beet juice. Watermelon, beet juice. Number 5, Nitrate-rich vegetables may prove to be both cost-effective, affordable, and favorable for a public health approach to hypertension. Nitrate-rich vegetables. Nitric acid. Yeah, listen, right. I sometimes you'll laugh, but sometimes in my head, I am in 3 different countries. And if I go back to London with some of the pronunciation you all given me, the people will laugh at me. You understand what I'm saying? So cross-cultural communication. So sometimes I am fighting, but I'm in America now, so I want to school myself. Nitric acid, is that how we say it? Nitric. You see, I'm going back. Okay. Right. Something I was trying to remember. Okay. Nitric acid signals the muscle fibers within the walls of your arteries to relax. Listen to this, because part of the reason the whole thing with hypertension is the arteries also stiffen. Nitric acid signals the muscle fibers within the walls of your arteries to relax, allowing them to open up and for more blood to flow. That's how nitroglycerin pills work. The healthiest way to get your nitrate fix is to eat a big salad every day. Not just eat salad every day, eat a big salad every day. In other words, let it be bigger than the serving of your rice or other kind of food. The salad, let it be big. Especially those of you who are fighting with weight problems, have a real big salad and full up on the salad so that you only eat a little bit of the other kind of food, and that will help in your weight. There is a link between vegetable consumption and improved, gentlemen, okay, listen to this. There is a link between vegetable consumption and improved sexual function, as well as improved blood flow to the most important organ of the body, which is the brain. The brain. Nitrates concentrated in green leafy vegetables and beets not only help deliver oxygenated blood to your muscles, but also enable your body to extract more energy from the oxygen, something never before thought possible. No drug, steroid, supplement, or intervention had ever before been shown to do what beet juice could do. Half a cup of beet juice or 3 3-inch beets will do it, right, each day, right? They say beet juice, extremely good. All right. All that we have talked about today, a lot of the stuff won't be promoted out there publicly because drug companies rake in more than $10 billion a year from blood pressure medication. You feel they really want you to not to be hypertensive? $10 billion a year from blood pressure medication. If they could keep you on that blood pressure medication, they have it fixed. They don't want you to practice all this healthy stuff that we have just talked about so that you no longer need blood pressure medication. Think about it. $10 billion a year, blood pressure medication. So, oh yes, you're hypertensive. Oh, we need to give you this drug. And oh, your body is reacting, so we need to give you this other one to counteract that, and this third one, and so they go, because they are making billions by medicating you, when there are natural, wholesome, healthy ways of you reaching the point where you will no longer need blood pressure medication, but you'll be healthy and you'll feel better and you'll live longer. A blood pressure checkup is easy to ignore or postpone. Unlike the case with many of our other leading killers, the insidious consequences of hypertension may not be apparent until you are lifted into an ambulance or lowered into a grave. Keep a check of your blood pressure. It's easy. In fact, I would advise everybody to own one of those. It's easy now. You don't have to go to a nurse to take it. One of those digital ones. I have one at home. I check my blood pressure at least once a week, just because it's a disease that can sneak up on you. And some people don't even have symptoms. And just boom, a massive stroke. When you could have been learn how to check your blood pressure. Just invest in one of those digital ones. Check your blood pressure once a week or so, and just check how you're going. Cut down more and more of your salt. Do some of the other things, and you'll be healthy. Because I tell you, I've seen people who have had massive strokes. Man, their lifestyle is completely changed. Completely changed. And we can avoid all that by some simple lifestyle changes. Now, before I forget, I want to give this gift, 70 ways to beat 70, which means, let me first ask this question, because I only have one of these books. Yes, I'll come just now. Yes. If you are 70 and over, and you are in this church here for the first time, you are the person I want to give this book. You are 70 and over, and you are here in Beacon Light Church for the very first time. Anybody like that? Okay. So how do I give this book away then? Because 70 ways to beat 70. Okay, you 68. There's a hand. Where? That's not looking like a 70-year-old hand. Who is that? Raise that. Stand like this. Who's the person? Okay. Thank you. This is yours. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so guess what? My watch is saying 11:50. I said we'll close at 12. So how many minutes do we have for questions? 10 minutes, 8 minutes. What's that?
Beets.
Go ahead.
Yeah, was very favorable at vegetable at my grandmother's table. And my grandmother really raised me, but because my mother worked all the time. But beets, she would cream beets, or she put lemon juice on it. She make different styles, you know. But nowadays people don't eat too many beets. I noticed that. And also, my mother became a nurse, and she always told me, I was the only child, so she always told me to keep a blood pressure machine or a glucose machine in your home. She said, just keep it there. And I've always done that.
Thank you very much. God bless. Any other question before we close?
Next question, Pastor. What about, you said a big salad dressing, but on top of that, you have the dressing with the sodium. I mean, how you go about changing that?
Okay. Here's what I would recommend. When we talk about salad, The best salad is an indecent salad. You got it? You got it. A naked salad. Because you could take good food like salad and then add a lot of salad dressing on it. Why are you dressing up the salad? Eat it, just train your taste bud to enjoy the natural taste of the salads without a lot of. But there are some wholesome salad dressings that some people make and some people use. They are wholesome. But a lot of the others that you buy is just filled with fat and salt and all different kinds of things. Yes, sir. Over here, the microphone. Now, the research has shown ground flaxseed is extremely good, generally for your health and especially for lowering high blood pressure. Ground flaxseed. Okay. Okay. Where you get it? Oh, you know where you get it. Ground flaxseed. Okay. You could sprinkle it on your cereals. You could sprinkle it on food. You could sprinkle it on your salads. I don't bother with any of that. I just take a spoonful of the stuff, and I eat it. And if it tried to choke you, just drink some drink or something.
Hello.
Yeah. Because I don't think I want that on my... I don't eat much cereal, and I don't know if I like it sprinkled on my food. So it's good. Let food be your medicine. I just take a spoonful of it and I eat it. Thank you. Down in the back.
Yeah, talking about the fruits. Now, how do you deal with the fruits? Because most of the fruits we have here are sprayed with pesticides. That's a fact.
Good question.
And everybody else saying, but what they call it? I forget the fruits that they call it, but you never know where your fruits are coming from unless it's from your yard.
Thank you, sir.
They talk about organic, which I've seen what they call organic, and they spray it all the time.
I got your question. I'm cutting you off because I got your question and I want to save time. Okay, this is extremely important because I thought to myself, I'm eating this loads of fruits, lots of fruits. And next thing you know, you could go down with some kind of disease because of the fact that you're eating healthy, but you're eating a lot of fruits and they are filled with pesticides or some other thing. Next thing you know, you get some other disease. So here's a simple way, because I am not going and buy the highly priced, what they call organic. If you want to do that, then it's fine. But what I discovered is this. When they call, I thought organic fruits mean no pesticides or no, what are the other ones? Sprays or anything. Then I discovered legally they could call it organic if they have these 5 pesticides and they cut out 3 and only use 2 pesticides. They could call it organic. All those kind of ways they have of wiggling out are okay. So I buy the ordinary fruits, and before I use them, each morning, I'm a nice husband, so I prepare a bowl for myself, and I prepare a bowl for my wife. Right? I get up early. So what I do is you get a bowl with water, and in that water, you sprinkle some
vinegar.
Some vinegar, and you could sprinkle just vinegar, but I do 2 things. I sprinkle some baking soda.
Yeah.
And then just to make sure, I sprinkle also some vinegar, stir it up, and I soak my fruits in that. I put the fruits just before, 5-10 minutes before you're ready, you put it in that, and they say that negates the pesticides and so on. Soak your fruits in apple cider vinegar or vinegar and or baking soda. And that takes care of that. That's what I do. What? What is
5 minutes.
How long? How long? You don't. You you just need to soak it for about 10 minutes. But you know me, I soak it for usually for about half an hour. It's half an hour. And sometimes when I come, the strawberries are a little soggy. I say, eat it. Let food be your medicine. Soggy or not, it's better. Eat it. Okay, our time is up. We can't cover everything. We'll have another seminar another time. I want to thank you for being here, for being a wonderful audience. And I want to encourage you, now that you know how important your blood pressure is. We have nurses on hand. They are willing, they told me that, to stay back for a while. You will see the direction. Go and have your blood pressure checked. It's a simple thing. Just know what your blood pressure is today. If you are hypertensive or pre-hypertensive, they will let you know so that you know you need to monitor or you need to check with your doctor. They will let you know. Thank you. We have to close now. We have to close now. Thank you so much.